Go.
Welcome to the Amboy Depot Museum. This building was built in 1876 after our old passenger house burned. That passenger house was built in 1854. It was wood and actually had hotel rooms in it for people. This was built in a year. The Illinois Central commissioned an architect from France to design the building. It took 1 year to build, and it's a beautiful building. We're very proud of it. This is when you come in is the ticket booth. You can purchase your ticket for the passenger train. We had passenger trains here until 1939. If you'll come this way, this was originally the men's waiting room. It was, later on there was a wall put up here and it became the ticket agent's room. The ticket agent, or the station agent, did all of his work here. We have many lanterns from the original Illinois Central Railroad, a lot of artifacts that from the Illinois Central that are here on our agent's desk. We also have pictures of many of the men who worked on the railroad many years ago. And we have a special section here on train wrecks that shows many of the accidents that happened right in front of the depot and in the depot's vicinity. This is a men's waiting room. Abraham Lincoln is sitting here in a barber chair. Lincoln was an attorney for the Illinois Central, and he visited here every now and then. He was here the night before the Lincoln-Douglas debates in Freeport in 1863, I believe it was. So we found this mannequin, and he fits in quite well. While he was here, he was shaved in a barber shop, the Flax Barber Shop. We have a wastebasket that they claim was used at the time Abraham Lincoln had his uniform that was J.H. Leffelman wore at the World's Fair in 1893, and a book from the fair. We also have pictures of the lunchroom and the ticket room years ago. Right now we use it as a gift shop. We have many styles of t-shirts, sweatshirts, lots of things for the kids, banks, hats, trains, rocks, postcards for sale. Amboy was really the center of attention in Illinois. We were an up-and-coming community. Here's a campaign train that came through here in 1896, and you'll notice how many people were here. This is the ladies' waiting room. You can see a lady. She's been sitting here waiting for a train for quite some time. In this room we have old or antique various items that women wore in the 1800s up to the 1920s. We have bustles and slips and hats. We have a purse made out of cork pieces from the inside of pop bottle lids. We have wedding dresses from the 1920s. We have a mink coat, hats. We have a beautiful wedding dress encased over there that is from the 1800s. We also have many pictures here of the depot in years gone by. This is a picture that On 3 photo from Amboy took, and it turned out so beautifully. They had it made into this collage, and here we have some items from the Pullman train, from the Pullman cars, I would say, the Pullman company. There are very few people who know that Carson Peary Scott was started here in Amboy. We have some items here and pictures here. They had their 30th anniversary here, or their 80th anniversary here, and they donated a fountain to the city of Amboy that used to stand downtown. We have it here in front of the depot now. Carson and Peary Scott commissioned some dioramas to be built, and they were put in the Illinois State Museum. And one of those dioramas is the inside of the original Carson Peary Scott store in Amboy. And this is a picture of that diorama. It's still in the Illinois State Museum. Our Amboy Clippers were the state champions in 1984. Our former principal of the Amboy High School donated a number of pictures and items from that period of time. And this is a collage that was made by one of the teachers at that time too. Baseball's always been a big part of Amboy history, and here's an old uniform from the 1940s and 50s that was donated by Crumbs, Kim Crum, the Delbert Crum family. This was the conductor's area where they did all their paperwork. We have moved some of our military items down here because a lot of the older people couldn't get up the stairs to see them. We have mannequins here with uniforms that have been donated from every branch of service. The the Amboy American Legion made a Christmas tree when we had our first Christmas tree contest in 2003. And they had pictures of the men from the area who had served in the military, and at the end of our contest we simply couldn't take it down, and we've added to it since then. We have a number of items over here, starting with the Civil War. From the Civil War, Spanish-American War, World War I, World War II, and Korea. Various items. Pictures and poems, and a gun down here donated by Gordon Parker. We also have a medics case. And we have our military nurse and American Legion chimneys here in the depot. And each, this is a chimney here, and there were these pot-bellied stoves. There were 8 of them that heated the entire building. We now have, we got new heat, or we got a new furnace in 2000. That was the first time since the 70s that this place had been heated. The railroad kept slipping in the 1800s. This was the division headquarters for the Illinois Central. That's why our building is so big. It's 19 rooms. And through the years, it downsized. Like I said, the passenger service stopped in 1939, and we were a big freight outfit after the turn of the century in 1900s. But it just, the Illinois Central decided to close the depot in the 70s. And when the Depot Commission took over, there were no windows left. There were animals living in here. It was really a disaster. The outside was redone in 1997. And in 2002 we started on the inside and had the whole inside replastered. We had electricity put in, and furnace and air conditioning. And since then, we've added a lot of artifacts from people, and we did painting to revive the old oak trim. It's been a big job. This is the baggage room. You can see the double doors where they brought in the baggage carts. We have this train stopped, didn't it? I had it plugged in. This was an Eagle project done by Marcus Mitchell, Mitzel and his Boy Scout troop. It took them several months actually to put this all together. They've done a wonderful job. I don't know what happened, but anyway, took a lot of time. They recreated the roundhouse here too. We had a roundhouse here in Amboy and several machine shops, blacksmith shop and so forth, but they recreated the roundhouse. They hope to do a little extra on it too. I'm glad we had the room for it. This room contains a lot of artifacts here from the Illinois Central, from our second train, the Burlington, Chicago Burlington Quincy, or what we call the CB&Q, and also the Lee County Electric Railroad that was came from Lee Center to Amboy. Carvings were done by Fred Appleman Sr. here in Amboy. He did it all by hand. All these were done by hand. They're all working, the wheels turn and the doors open, and he just did it for fun and donated these to the depot. He passed away about 2 years ago, and sad to see that happen. He did this all with scrap wood and this is a picture of David Shapiro. He was a local dentist and later became a representative of the state of Illinois, and then later a senator. He was a wonderful man who died very young. It was a tragedy. He had 6 children who went through the Amboy school system. Here's some more from Herbert Connor. He liked to paint the Rocky Ford, around the Rocky Ford Bridge. He has paintings in the first building in Western Illinois University, some murals that he painted. These are all, here's a timeline of Amboy's history, along with various businesses through the years. Well, we did. Joseph Smith, who Joseph Smith visited here often. His sister-in-law lived here, and he had church services here. The settlement was around Rocky Ford, actually, and it was called Shelburne. And when they came here, they named it was Paradise at first, and then they platted a city out there, and it really never came to fruition after he was murdered. But he did spend a lot of time here, and got a lot of people interested in the Mormon faith. We also have a Mormon cemetery south of town. We have a lot of interesting people who lived here. And these are businesses. Dickinson's Pool Hall. This is a replica of the arch that used to be over Route 52. Conover's Electric. This is a ham radio that he built himself. Leaks Dragwood, that was in the early 1900s. Here's a man, Mr. Intorf, who designed a filter to filter oil and water. Things from the First National Bank. At one time we had two theaters in town. There was a Shadow Theater and the Amboy Theater. This is the marquee from the Amboy Theater. And we have some posters and from the theater here. We had two presidents of the Illinois State FFA Association, and one was Colleen Dickinson, the other Jake Bunnell, and they Colleen donated her uniform to us. She is now a doctor. Years ago, the main employer in Amboy was Amboy Milk Products. They made cheese, canned milk, evaporated milk, pudding, and this is the this whistle is the whistle that they had in the building, and you could hear it all over town because so many people worked there. The whistle would blow a few minutes before work was to start in the morning, blow at noon again, and then blow again when it was quitting time. Here's a can of the cheese that was made for the servicemen. I remember a friend of mine who was stationed in Vietnam said he opened his pack and there was Amboy cheese and he felt like he was at home. They made Melody Whip also, and the products were sold all over the world. You can see here posters from different countries, from Greece and from Russia and Poland. The building is still there, but it's in quite disrepair. This is an outfit from our centennial in 1954. Actually, this year is the 160th anniversary of the Illinois Central Railroad here and the city of Amboy. Here are some pictures from 1954 from our centennial celebration and from various celebrations. These are some pictures and leaflets from the Lee County Fair. Used to be held in Amboy at the park, and it was one of the biggest fairs in the state of Illinois, and people traveled on the train to come here. They had horse races, they had a carnival, they had it all. We have a booklet here that has pictures. You can see thousands of people came to the fair, and these were some of the horse races, and of course they had judging of livestock and dances. It was quite a big operation. And today we have depot days instead. This is Wilbur. He is a buffalo rug that was sent to us from a lady in Las Vegas. She bought this and it wouldn't fit on her wall, so she called and asked if we would like it. And I said, sure. Well, when I opened the box, I was surprised that there was a head on it. And we call him Wilbur, and we like him very much. Professor Blocher was a music teacher who had a sickness, you might say, about rocks. And he collected rocks in the summer when he was off from his teaching. These are some of the Indian artifacts that he had collected. His collection was given to us by his family when he passed away. And we have thousands of his rocks and fossils in our freight house. This is just a sample of some of the Indian artifacts that he collected. Yes, and that's his yard. You can see all the rocks. And he also had a greenhouse. He had the largest cactus collection east of the Mississippi. People came from all over the world to see his rocks and his gardens. This is we call it the fantasy room, but actually now it's the Sensient room. Sensient is our largest employer now. You can see the factory across the road. They make ingredients that are used in ice cream, and I guess that's their main focus. But they make for many different brands. They also, I just found out not too long ago, they were the largest manufacturer of eggnog in the United States. And I don't know if they still do the eggnog or not, but these are some of the equipment that they use in their lab. And we have some pictures of when they first started. When they first started, they were called Fantasy Flavors, but they've been bought out a couple of different times. Here you can see how they started, and this was where the roundhouse was at one time, and they have since expanded tremendously, and we're very lucky to have them here in town. They employ a lot of people. This shows some of the buildings that the Illinois Central had in this location. Here's the oil waste storage, the roundhouse, machine shop, blacksmith shop, an office, and a car repair shop. This was all in this location without that road going through. There was also a freight house, a brick freight house across the way, which has since been torn down. This is our veterans room. We've moved, as I said, some of the things downstairs, but we have many items like canteens and hats and guns, and this is all World War I on this side, and we have pictures of the two young men who died, the American Legion post was named after, the post Lovell. Uniform from the Spanish-American War, and this is a World War II heater and camp stove that you might have seen on MASH. A couple of gentlemen that work for the state police did some business here, and they donated this to our museum. There's just a number of things from World War II. Around the rest of the room, our local dentist, Dr. Jerome Hochstetter, had an army patch collection. that his wife donated to us, and we're very pleased to have that also. It's the fireman's room. Actually, upstairs here, these were all the superintendent of the Northern Division's offices. They had a bookkeeper, telegrapher, the superintendent and his secretaries also. But this room that was the telegrapher's room, we've turned into the fireman's room. We have pictures of the fire department at from various eras, and we have a lot of things that the local fire department has donated to us, uniforms and equipment. We have pictures of some of the fires that happened here in Amboy. This one took 3 businesses here on East Avenue. Here's one from in 2005 when the Dairy Queen burned down. And this is an original fire hose that the guys had to pull. This is from our fire department from many, many years ago. Voucher from the city of Amboy that was signed by President Reagan's father, Jack. He worked in Amboy here for quite some time selling shoes. This is our toy room. It just has some, has this beautiful dollhouse. This lady from Lee Center always wanted a dollhouse, and her husband built this for her, and they donated it to our museum. We also have toy trains, violin. Alright, this was the engineer's room. And here we have a replica of a house that sits on Route 52 on Mason Avenue that was built by the owner. The roof is made out of sandpaper. He did a beautiful job of replicating the home. We have a clock that was in Ashenbrenner's pharmacy. It was just donated to us last year. It's just a beautiful piece. When they sold their pharmacy to Nice's, I guess the son carried it home in a wagon. I don't think I'd have trusted a little boy in a wagon with that thing. We also have a spinning wheel, a beautiful pump organ donated by Janice Richards. Pictures. We have pictures and artifacts from all our local churches here. And we have various items here, old cameras, some really old cameras, knitting needles, some items from the Chicago fire, and we have an old Victrola. This is a room that it was the engineer's storeroom, and we've turned it into a bedroom. The Vaughns were a family in town who had the local funeral home, and most funeral homes at that period of time had also sold furniture. So some of the furniture belonged to the Vaughns, and this is a sign that was outside their establishment. And these are just various items from their homes. This is a cradle that belonged to the Friel family. And the Friels always had a lot of children, so a lot of babies slept in this cradle, and it was loaned out to many other families too. This is a horsehide blanket. This you'd normally use in a horse and buggy to keep warm. It's very thick and nice and warm. This is a quilt that was made by the Methodist church here in town. All the members of the congregation signed their names, and then it was, they were sewn on, embroidered. Others safe. As you can see, here's the inside doors, and then we have the outside doors chained up here. We were afraid someone would get hurt. Here we have various kitchen items. We have a flour sifter from the Gregory grocery store here in town. Yeah, that's how you bought your flour. They would grind it in front of you, and you'd have a little paper sack and get your flour that way. We have a copper teapot and a copper boiler and a wash tub. Various kitchen items here. One of the original washing machines and a clothes dryer. And there's an old wooden pump and a water heater. This was a water heater. And years ago, when the grocery stores would have bread delivered before the grocery store opened, so these boxes were set outside, and the bread men would put the bread in them and then lock it, and then when the grocery store opened, they'd open it up and get their bread. And these walls, this held the payroll. As I said before, we figured these pipes were to hold the money bags. And these walls are well over 2 feet thick. We're open on Thursday through Sunday. Sunday and Thursday from 1 to 4, and Friday and Saturday from 10 to 4.